say has already been said because Judge Salsinas said it all. I lived through a lot of those times that you talked about. When I first started working for Ralph Marsicano, I hadn't been sworn into the bar. So about the second or third day that I was in the office, he said, well, let's run across the street to the courthouse and get you sworn in. So I said, okay. I had never even thought of that because my main concern had been finding a job, and that's another story. But we went to the courthouse and we found a judge who was available. There were only two circuit judges then, Judge Sandler and Judge Parks, Judge L.L. Parks. And so the one that was available was Judge Parks, and we went into the office, and so he just said, okay, raise your hand, and that was it, no ceremony. So I went back to the office, and Ralph said, well, okay, now you can work. You can sign everything, and you're okay. So a few weeks later, Ralph, I still wasn't going to court, but Ralph had a conflict, as Judge pointed out in another case, and he sent me to court to take care of the case. And Judge Parks was presiding that day, and when I stood up, he said to me, young lady, who do you work for? And I said, Ralph Marsicano. And she says, well, I want you to tell Ralph Marsicano that the next time he sends a secretary over here, I'm sending her out, and she's not going to come into the courtroom. And I looked at him, and I was taken aback. There were several other lawyers there in the firm who knew me, in the courtroom who knew me, and so I said, Judge, I'm sorry, but I'm an attorney, and you swore me in on such and such a date. And would you believe, he never said anything, he never apologized, he just said, oh, all right, go on. So I've been through that, and I remember the situation with Francisco Rodriguez.
Oh, you did?
As a matter of fact, my maternal grandfather's name was Francisco Rodriguez. And that was a terrible thing. And not only women had to go through that, but all minorities had to go through that. I was a double minority. I was a woman and a Latin woman, and there had never apparently been any Latin woman who had done anything that was public or people knew about. The local community in Ybor City, where I was born, was very proud of me. I knew that because they showed it to me in every way. I was like their hero. And I determined that I was going to also live up to that because that was a big responsibility. I remember blacks not being allowed in a lot of the waiting rooms of attorneys in this town. But when my husband and I opened our office in 1953, we said, anybody that comes into this office and employs us is going to sit here, and anybody who comes in and doesn't sit with them can just leave. And so we followed that, and my husband had many friends, and we worked very hard because we started just the two of us together and without too much to back us up. So we started, as we call today, networking. We joined organizations, and we networked until we built up our practice, and there was no specialization then. The only attorneys that actually specialized were tax attorneys. I remember one of the attorneys that graduated from law school with me, Mitch Emanuel, who practiced law in Tampa for many years and was an excellent lawyer. Mitch went on to New York University and specialized in taxation. The rest of us did everything else but taxation. So in our office, my husband liked to do criminal work. So at the beginning, he did quite a bit of it and really enjoyed it. And I think my daughter must have inherited that gene because she's now doing that herself. So I did not run into a lot of prejudice, or at least that was overtly shown to me from other lawyers. They were all very kind and helpful. There were several older lawyers who were very good to me, and that they said, if you needed anything, if you need some help, let me know. And one of them was old Judge Tillman, Henry Tillman, who later became a circuit judge. And I appreciated that. The fact that I did work with Ralph Marsicano for almost 3 years was important too, because he was a fantastic lawyer. He was an expert on city law. He was an assistant city attorney. But I learned many things from him, although my practice with him wasn't very satisfying, because I did all the abstract work for the central bank, which he represented, and so examining abstracts was not very exciting. And I handled all the cases that he didn't want to handle, and I did a lot of research. But I had a job, and I was proud of that. And I had a job with a respected attorney. And so to me, who had grown up not really wanting to be an attorney, I never had thought about being an attorney until I was in my second year at Florida State, and then I was majoring in political science and minoring in history, and very few women did that. I think there were about 8 or 10. Now they have a big social sciences department. So one of my teachers, I was talking to her after class one day, and I said, well, you know, Dr. Irish, this is fun. I'm having a wonderful time. I enjoy the work here. I enjoy where I'm studying. But I have to earn a living when I get out. What am I going to do? What can I do with this kind of a degree? Because my father had, you know, like all Spaniards, had wanted me to be a teacher or a nurse. Teaching I didn't think was for me, and nursing I didn't think so either, although one of my youngest daughter once told me recently that the best thing that she knew about me was that I was so good at nursing her when she was sick. So maybe I missed my calling, I don't know, I doubt it. Anyway, I did encounter problems getting a job, because lawyers, I went in for interviews, and the first thing they asked me is, can you type and take shorthand? Well, I knew that wasn't a lawyer's job, so I'd say, well, I can type, but I can't take shorthand. So that was it. And I knew that what they intended for me was to be a secretary, a legal secretary, which I didn't spend all that time studying to be a legal secretary. So when I started working for Ralph, he said to me one day, you know, Marie, I think if you learned shorthand, it would be good, because then you could go into court with me and you could take everything down in shorthand, and we would just have it. And I thought, well, if it means my job, I guess so. So I started taking shorthand, and I went to Tampa Business College, which used to be on Franklin Street upstairs in the building there. And after about a month, I said, no, wait, this is not for me. And so I quit. Best thing I ever did. So I never took shorthand. I could type, I could help myself by typing, but I never took shorthand. And so since the day I was admitted to the bar, which was sometime in the fall, I graduated from the University of Florida Law School on September the 4th, 1948. When the war was over, the country was doing well, the soldiers were coming back, and they were going to law school, and by the hundreds, it seemed like. And they were determined that they were going to succeed, because they had been through you know what, and now their life was before them. It had been interrupted, so they were ready. And so it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. But they all treated me as an equal, and I have had some experiences which I won't bother to tell because they've already been told. But for the most part, I have always been glad that this is what I decided to do with my life. I've always thought it was one of the most fulfilling, professions that anyone, and I always thought that it was a wonderful, wonderful place for a woman. And so I don't know. I guess I encouraged my family because I've got a daughter who's a lawyer and a granddaughter who's a lawyer. So it follows in the female side of the family. So I'm proud to have been an attorney all these years. I was, when I completed 50 years as a member of the bar, I was honored at the Florida Bar Convention. And the following year, my husband was honored. And I've had a very fulfilling life. And now I'm glad that this is what I decided to do. And as Judge Alsina said, the only hope I have is that women continue to be out there and be determined and not let anything stand in their way, because a lot of things are going to be thrown in your way, a lot of roadblocks, and you can't give up, because once you set aside and step aside and give in a little, you're at the beginning of the end. So thank you very much for this recognition today. I appreciate it, and I never expected it, and